the movement for the liberation of the Rama birthplace temple was started by an array of people, not even from the BJP or the RSS. So it started with two Congress politicians. One of them was the former Prime Minister Gulzarilal Nanda, and also by the last Hindu Mahasabha member of parliament, Mahant Abhaidhyanath, the personal guru of the present Chief Minister Yogi. And that was really tied in with the Congress line at that time. You see, people who now see the Congress as a party of the minorities underestimate to what extent it still was a Hindu party in the 1980s. So Rajiv Gandhi clearly had in mind to give the Hindus their temple. And in exchange, he would give some goodies to the Muslim leadership to keep them humored, like the banning of the Rushdie book or the Shah Bano new law. And so he was not at all against that. I think the decisive moment of change was the issuing of this booklet by the eminent historians, saying that of course there was no temple there, and which was against the consensus. Even the British, even the local Muslims had earlier accepted that of course there had been a temple there. But so suddenly for mainstream politicians it became too risky to be seen on the side of the temple. And so that's when the BJP really seized the issue and kept, supporting it for essentially 2 years, till 1991, till after the elections. So they won 2 elections with it, 89 and 91. And then they dropped it like a hot potato. That's the main reason why the edifice got demolished. Namely, you see, the Supreme Court had promised a verdict before this announced gathering on 6th of December 92. They reneged on it, they didn't do it. And the BJP had created a big atmosphere in favor of replacing the mosque with the temple, and they also didn't do it. In fact, they gathered in Ayodhya more to show to the secularists, look here, you cannot control the Hindu masses, but we can. We will make sure that the Babri Masjid is not touched. And so the activists saw it differently. They took the law into their own hands. The support for that was minimal, though one political patron of this movement can be mentioned. I think by now it's quite okay to give the name openly, namely Moropant Pingle, who was in the RSS leadership. I cannot speak for the other RSS leaders at the time, because to my knowledge it would be very uncharacteristic for the RSS is one of the leaders goes against the party line. That you see, he would have taken this particular line against the RSS line. So I think essentially it must have been supported by the RSS as such, but so in terms of official statements, I only know about Moropant Pingle's involvement. So at any rate, many in the Sangh Parivar leadership were not aware of what was going to happen, were certainly not in favor of it. Like Bajrang Dal activists told me that not only Advani was completely on a different line as they were, even Vishwa Hindu Parishad leader Ashok Singhal tried to stop them. And so they told the story, I don't know if it's true, but it's their testimony, that they threatened him with pulling off his dhoti if he didn't shut up. So at any rate, whatever was needed, they ended up demolishing the Babri Masjid. So then the BJP pulled its hands off of it, or actually it did that before, but then it certainly did. And so for a while there was nothing happening. Narasingha Rao, the Prime Minister, approached the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court held off. So it was years later that finally the Uttar Pradesh High Court took up the issue in right earnest. Now was about 50 years after it started, the court case started. And so finally they got serious about it. So they ordered full archaeological excavations at the site, which was now possible because the building was gone. So there are no compunctions anymore in digging up everything. So there very firmly the existence of temple foundations was confirmed. Many temple objects were found. Not only then, but then it was really official. Also during the demolition in '92, many had been found. During the earlier peripheral excavations by Bibi Lal in the '70s. Then also when the rebuilding of the temple started in 2020 thereabouts, the building company first made a big hole in the ground where they could start putting the foundations. So there also, not looking for it, they nevertheless found many temple objects. So I mean, about the existence of the temple, there is really no doubt. The judges also called to the witness stand the eminent historians. So except for the topmost ones, a number of them went, and they fell through completely. So they were stammering, oh yeah, I'm not really an archaeologist, I don't know these things, I've never been to Ayodhya. I only signed because my colleague signed. And so the supposed evidence against the temple turned out to be non-existent.
So the eminent historians all got exposed in the courts?
Yes, and so I think they have something to answer for, because I think that the whole issue could have been settled far more peacefully without their intervention. At any rate, the court did the right thing, so they followed the conclusions of scholarship, and so they ruled in favor of the Hindu claim on the site. That, of course, confined the possible choices of the Supreme Court, which would have a hard time justifying a different verdict. But so what they apparently did was to postpone as much as possible. So the whole court case in total has lasted 69 years, which I think is exaggeratedly long. And so even then, you see, the court was trying to postpone the verdict. I think at that time, the Modi government made its only important intervention. And of course, it's not supposed to intervene in the sense that the judicial power is separate from the executive power. But so it pressured the court a bit for finally coming down to business. And so then the verdict came, which inevitably had to support essentially the Hindu claim to the site. So I think that the most important factor, and I hope I may be forgiven for pleading the case of my own type of people, I think that the scholars really made the decisive difference. And so it is they who ensured that the judges really had no option except to leave the site to the Hindus.